This might sound wrong, but someone has to say it. What if one of the most famous football players in history wasn't actually that good? Yeah, I know that already sounds controversial, but stay with me. When we talk about true legends, we think about dominance. We think about raw, undeniable talent. We think about players who could destroy a game on their own. And yet, his name is always there. But here's the uncomfortable part. He wasn't the fastest. He wasn't the most skillful. He wasn't even the most decisive player of his era. No Ballon d'Or, no best in the world title. So how did he become one of the most iconic athletes on the planet? Was it football brilliance, or something far more powerful? Because once you start digging, you realize this isn't just about talent. It's about influence, image, timing, impact. And by the end of this video, you might completely change the way you define greatness in football. So don't rush to judge. Because the real answer to this question isn't as obvious as you think. A lot of people look at his career and, honestly, don't hesitate to say it. He was overrated. And, well, it's not a completely crazy take. When you put him side by side with players like Ronaldo or Zidane, the difference hits you almost instantly. He wasn't the flashiest, he wasn't the fastest, and he definitely wasn't the kind of player who could just grab the ball and decide a game on his own. So naturally, the question starts creeping in. Was he really that good? If you break it down logically, the argument starts stacking up. He never won a Ballon d'Or, not even once. He was never officially crowned the best player in the world. And let's be real here, he wasn't known for explosive pace or jaw-dropping dribbles either. You wouldn't see him weaving past 5 defenders like it was nothing. His game was different, more controlled, almost like he was playing chess while everyone else was playing street football. And then comes the line that really makes people pause for a second. He wasn't the most talented. He wasn't the most athletic. He wasn't even the best player in his own team. Now that hits. Because if all of that is true, then what exactly made him special? Why does his name still carry so much weight? And more importantly, why is he still part of the conversation when so many better players faded away? That's where things start to shift, and trust me, this is where the story takes a turn most people don't see coming. And this is where everything flips. Because once you move past what he wasn't, you start noticing what he did better than almost anyone else. See, he didn't need to dribble past 5 players, he just needed one perfect touch. And that touch, it was deadly. His crossing wasn't just good, it was surgical. The kind of ball that doesn't just find a teammate, it invites a goal. You know that feeling when everything just clicks? That was him over and over again. Then there were set pieces. And honestly, this is where things get ridiculous. Free kicks, corners, he turned them into weapons. Not chances, weapons. While others hoped for something to happen, he planned it. You could almost picture it. Hours of repetition, muscle memory kicking in, the ball bending exactly the way he imagined. It's like when someone practices something so much that it stops being effort and starts becoming instinct. That was his edge, and most people completely overlooked it. But here's the thing most casual fans miss. His mind, his tactical intelligence, his discipline, his ability to read the game before it even unfolded. That's rare, really rare. Whether it was that clutch free kick against Greece in 2001 that carried England to the World Cup, or his role in Manchester United's historic 1998-99 treble season, or even how he adapted among the Galácticos, he was always exactly where he needed to be. Not by luck, but by design. And once you start seeing that, you realize something deeper is going on here. Something that goes way beyond raw talent. And now we get to the part most people underestimate. The part that doesn't show up on stats sheets. Because, truth be told, he wasn't just a football player, he became something bigger. Way bigger. He was one of the first truly global athletes of the modern era. Not just known, but recognized everywhere. Different countries, different cultures, same reaction, people knew exactly who he was. And that kind of presence, that doesn't happen by accident. Before personal branding became a strategy, he was already living it. Style, image, attitude, everything about him was intentional, or at least felt that way. He didn't just play the game, he expanded it. Sponsorships, media, fashion. He blurred the lines between athlete and icon. It's like when someone walks into a room and, without saying a word, shifts the entire atmosphere. That was him. And suddenly, football wasn't just about the pitch, anymore it was about influence. And then there's the bigger picture. His move to the MLS, for example, it wasn't just a transfer, it was a statement. He helped open doors, changed perceptions, and played a role in growing the sport in a market that didn't fully believe in it yet. So here's the question that lingers, almost uncomfortably. Was he loved because he was good? Or was he considered good because he was loved? Sit with that for a second. Because depending on your answer, everything changes. And that leads us straight into the final thought, one that might not give you a clear answer, but will definitely make you rethink what greatness really means. So maybe, just maybe, we've been asking the wrong question this whole time. People keep debating whether he was overrated or underrated, as if greatness could be measured only by dribbles, speed, or individual awards. But what if that's too narrow? What if we've been trying to fit a different kind of player into a box that was never made for him in the first place? Because when you zoom out, the picture changes. He influenced games, yes, but he also influenced generations. He wasn't just part of football. In many ways, he reshaped how football connected with the world. And that's something you can't always quantify. It's like comparing someone who plays the game to someone who changes how the game is seen. Two completely different levels of impact, yet people often treat them as the same thing. So here's the thought that lingers. Maybe Beckham wasn't the most gifted player of his generation, but maybe greatness isn't always about talent. Sometimes it's about impact. And once you start looking at it from that angle, you realize the debate isn't really over. In fact, it might have just begun. So now, let me ask you something honestly. How do you define greatness? Is it trophies, individual awards, natural talent, or is it impact, the kind that changes an entire sport forever? Because if greatness is only about raw ability, then maybe he doesn't belong at the very top. But if greatness is about influence, longevity, and reshaping the game itself, then maybe we've been underestimating him all along. Think about it. How many players were more talented and yet faded from the global conversation? How many had more flair, more speed, more natural gifts, but never built something bigger than the pitch? That's the part most people ignore. Talent opens doors, impact keeps them open, and very few players in history managed to do both in their own way. Now the real question is yours to answer. Was he really that good, or was he just loved? Drop your opinion in the comments. I genuinely want to know where you stand on this. And if you enjoy deep dives like this, where we go beyond the obvious and challenge the narrative, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Because the next debate might completely change the way you see football again.